Hello, this is Frank, and you're watching Frank's Home Remodeling Journey. Okay, well today I'm going to show you how to put up some house numbers. House numbers are kind of fun because it kind of represents a stage in the project where you're finishing up things. But more importantly, house numbers really sort of identify the house, and they're really important to think carefully about what you buy, how it's going to look, because really it is going to be the front of your house. It's going to advertise your house. So some thought needs to go in, I think, the house numbers. First, let's talk a little bit about size. These house numbers are about 4 inches tall. You can get them various sizes, but for an average residential house, 4 inches is probably going to be good enough, because you don't want to overpower the overpower what people look at by having too big of a house number. The second thing to think about is where you're going to put the house numbers. Now, we had some thoughts about it. The old house numbers used to be above the garage, and you can see probably a few of the other houses have their house numbers above the garage. That was pretty standard around here. But we figured that with more of a white color and having having the bronze door and the bronze light fixtures, we thought that having the numbers mounted vertically over here would balance things out pretty nicely. The last thing about house numbers is what style you get. They have all different kinds of different styles. You can get them at Home Depot, but we really wanted something that would be nice, and we didn't mind spending a little extra money. So we found a place called Modern House Numbers. They're a little outfit, mom and pop outfit out of Phoenix, Arizona, and they make these really nice looking CNC aluminum numbers that are powder coated to whatever color you want. And the interesting thing about these is that they mount so that they're offset a little bit, and I'll show you this. You have these little posts and these little spacers, and the post goes in the back like this, and then the spacer goes, and then this gets all inserted into your house, and so it is offset a little bit, and that gives it a nice setting, and really makes it look pretty classy. So that's what we're going to do today, put these up. Now, one of the things that is important about how these are put up, the instructions are not bad. The instructions are right here. They talk a little bit about what equipment you need, but they also talk about epoxy. So whenever you're dealing with epoxy, you have to have one thing in mind. That is, you want to make sure everything's ready to go together before you mix the epoxy, because once you mix the epoxy, you got 5 minutes to put it together. And if something's wrong, the hole isn't big enough, the hole's in the wrong place, stuff doesn't fit, you're in trouble. So you want to make sure that you pre-fit everything, make sure it all fits nicely together, have your holes drilled, everything nice, and then you start your epoxy. So let's go through tools. Another thing that you have to do whenever you do a project is make sure you have your tools. You have to have your tools pretty simply, if you're working with epoxy, you need this stuff. Epoxy is not cool to put on your hands. It goes all over the place, it sticks, and I cannot think of how I worked with epoxy, how many years I worked with epoxy without using these things. They didn't have them many years ago, and now they're ubiquitous. You got to use them. Have some tape. Tape is important because that's how you're going to put a template. You have a template, which is kind of nice. These folks provide you a template, and you can get them vertically or horizontally. So you want to put the template, get it nice and centered, and put it up there. And as you can see, this is where you're going to drill your holes to put the posts in. The other thing you need is a knife. Knife is always good because I don't know, I always have a knife. You always have a use for it. In this case, I'll probably be cutting open the epoxy. Measuring tape, level, to make sure it's nice and straight up and down. We'll check that in a little bit. Hammer. You want to have a hammer so you can tap it in case it's recalcitrant. You have to have a drill. Now, a drill bit This is a 3/16 drill bit. This is a drill bit especially made for masonry surfaces, okay? It's a hard steel, and it's made for what's called a hammer drill. If you can see, it has a big shank to it over here, and that's going to fit in your hammer drill. This is a hammer drill. So what a hammer drill does is it has a rotating mechanism inside that causes the drill to hammer back and forth, and that helps break up the masonry, and also helps put the drill in. So it's good to have one of these things. You don't really need a hammer drill, but you for sure need a masonry bit if you're going to be doing that. So let's go ahead and get this set up. There we go. Make sure it's on 2 because you're drilling. Make sure it's on hammer. Okay. Now, the next thing you got to make sure is you got all of your equipment that you're going to use, all your materials. So materials include the numbers. Make sure you have all the posts. So you're going to need eight posts and 8 spacers. I haven't counted them up, so hopefully we got that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, we're all set there. When you're mixing epoxy, it's nice to have these little things. Some people mix epoxy on cardboard, and that's fine. But you'll see why having these little pots, having these little cups is really nice thing to have, and having a couple of stir sticks. Okay, so once we got all that straightened out, let's go ahead and mount the template. So you want the template centered, and I kind of measured this. I'm pretty sure this template is centered. So really, in order to center it, all I have to do is make this pretty much equidistant between the 2 edges. So I'm going to tape this in place, but before I do that, I'm going to get some tape. And the tape, I'm going to put a few pieces on my wrist here, so I don't have to be screwing around with getting little pieces of tape all over the place when I'm trying to center it and the wind's blowing this stupid thing all over them. So there, I have a few pieces of tape. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it about where I want it. You don't want it really too high, but you don't want it too low either. So let's put it right about here. We're going to take a look at it anyway once we get going. So the first thing we do is we're going to put that like that. Then we're going to take our level and make sure that the template's nice and plumb. I can do that by kind of looking at the crease here and saying, oh, well, you know, maybe not quite so much. That looks pretty good, actually. See that right in the center? Right in the center right there? Okay. So we're going to tack this over here. Let's see why it's in the butt, huh? Okay. Better go ahead and get this settled down here. And get this settled down. And now that we have it pretty much, now that we have that pretty much in place, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and tape it fairly firmly, because you really don't want it going around too much while you're working on it. Okay, before we get too far, let's take a look and see how that looks from a distance. Well, it looks pretty good. I kind of like that, right where it is. That's nice. So we verified that's where we want it. We'll go ahead and finish the securing this nicely to the edges here. Okay. There. Now that should stay. Now, one thing I have to do, I forgot, is I don't want to try to drill these holes. The first thing I have to do is drill holes. I don't want to drill the holes when I'm standing up here. I need a little platform to stand on. So I'm going to go get something here. A piece of toolage that I forgot one thing I know about projects is that I always forget a tool somewhere along the way, and I always have to go back to get it. All right, so now we have this. Set it up. Okay, now we can work a little bit. Let's go ahead and get our drill set up over here. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to, this wind is blowing everything off. Let's go over here. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to see how deep to drill. So, how deep do you drill? What you have to do is set one of these pins with a spacer in there, and then you want to get a little piece of tape like that. Then you want to kind of stick your drill bit next to it. You want to say, okay, I need you to be at least that deep, and we're going to make it just a little bit deeper. See, I have a little gap. That way you're not running into something that you'll make sure it's deep enough it can be seated all the way. You definitely don't want it too shallow, because with the epoxy you'd have to come out and drill it out. The epoxy would be already in the damn hole, and that would be very sad because it would be a pain in the ass to fix. Okay, now we're going to drill holes. So we know how deep it has to be. It has to be that deep. First thing we do is we center it on the hole, press hard, and then you want to give it a little squirt, just like that. The reason why is because you want to establish firmly where that drill bit is going to go in. And if you just jam it in and start drilling, sometimes the tip of the drill can wander off, so it's not that accurate. By going and pushing and giving it a little goose, that gets the drill bit nice and centered. Here we go. Okay, that's one. Okay, looks good. Okay, now we don't need the template anymore, so we'll take that down. We dust it off a little bit. Okay, let's get this out of the way. All right. Next thing is that we have to do some test fitting. Let's dry fit this all this stuff to make sure it all fits nice. And that is in preparation for the epoxy. So we'll fit number one on, and we want to verify that the pins go all the way in, and that we can push this stuff all the way in there. We may have to bang it a little bit. That's what it said. That's all right. There. Okay. That's not quite lining up good. I wonder if that's deep enough. No, not deep enough. Interesting. Yep, that's why you do this stuff, folks. If it ain't deep enough, it certainly isn't going to go in. So let's see what's up with that. Maybe not quite enough. Okay, well, guess we just made that one deep enough. There we go. Okay, good. Okay, so now we're going to have to check to make sure they're all deep enough. because that did not turn out very good. That did not turn out the way I wanted it to. I have a feeling that this one is not going to be a very similar situation here. That's not going to be enough. So I have a feeling all of these are going to be about the same, in which case we are going to drill a little bit more. Okay, well, that should be it. So now, let's make sure it all fits nicely. Okay, it looks good. Good. That will fit just fine. Oops. We have to bang it a little bit. Okay. Said you may have to bang the stuff in a little bit, so that'll be all right. Okay. We'll do number 3. Okay, there we go. Now, take a look and see what the dry fit looks like. Again, the dry fit, I can't tell you enough. That's pretty darn good. Yep, stands out a little bit. Sort of floats. That's kind of cool. It really does look kind of cool. All right, one more look just to make sure. You start mixing glue, it's all over, pal. All right, time to do the glue. So here we go. Everything comes out. And we set the numbers just like so. Okay. Keep everything together. That's an important part of working any project, really, is staying organized. Okay, very good. All right, now, next thing we're going to do is we are going to, that's odd, let's fall out. That's just strange. Well, I don't know where that spacer went. I have to find the spacer now. That kind of sucks. Either dropped off. Okay, no spacer here. Either the spacer is somewhere. I didn't hear it clink though, which sort of got my attention a little bit. Is it in there? Nope, that's too big. Okay, well, now we have another problem. This is finding a lost part. You'd think I was organized. You'd think everything was coming just fine, and then I lose the fucking part. Well, that is not good. Here it is. Okay. All right. Now, next thing is the glue. So let's read some directions. See card, protect work area, mix for 20 seconds, apply within 5 minutes, bond will decrease, strength will decrease along your way to apply, clamp surfaces together, leave undisturbed for 30 minutes. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to leave this, the first thing I want to do is I want to put the glue in here and then put this little guy on top of it, like that. Ooh, that's not cool. Let's notice that. I think we'll have to fix that. A little bit of edges there. See this little piece of paint? That paint has to come off because it's going to interfere with the seating of the of the shoulder there. So that's why we have a knife to do this kind of crap. Okay, it's probably good enough. All right. Okay, so what I'm going to do is mix it up. And then I'm going to put it face down, let it set. And we'll let it set for a little while. So we're going to do two mixing evolutions. First one will be to let it set, and then first one will be to set the posts into the holes with the spacers. And the reason I want to do it that way is because I don't want to have epoxy dripping all over the place when I put the other side of the spacers in. And the reason that would occur if I didn't do it this way is because I plan on putting epoxy on this side of the spacer as well. And as you can imagine, if this is kind of fooling around over here and this is going to slide around and I'm trying to put epoxy on here and now it's dripping all over the place and now it's getting on the number, that is not going to be good. So we are going to do it a different way, a different manner. We are going to do this in a manner that I am going to outline. Okay. Goes all the way in. All right, so first thing. That's why we have two of these. We're going to use one then the other. Let's not lose both of them. So, epoxy. I think this has to come out. That's your little cap. We'll use that in a little bit. This comes off. That's your holes. And then you're going to squeeze in. Should come about equally. Ooh, about that much. That's probably enough. I'm gonna use the rest for something else. Okay, there. Then we'll put the cap back on. Clap. And that can stay for a little while, because we're not gonna get back to it. Okay. Then we're gonna take our stick and stir it for a good 20 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm also going to let it set a little bit, because I did stir some bubbles in there. The bubbles will weaken the epoxy a little bit. So we're going to let that settle out. In the meantime, I'm going to remove my tools that I'm not going to need anymore. Okay. This is going to go, I'm going to throw that out, because I don't think I need it anymore. You always got to keep this stuff away from your work, because it really is sticky and gooey and crappy. Alright, so what I had in mind was this. I would take one of these posts, I would stick the goop in here like this, get it nice and goopy. See? Yeah, it's goopy. Like that. A little too much. And I would stick it in here like that. all the way down. There it goes. The bubble came up. You see how it has a little ridge there, and it goes right down there. See, look at that. See, that makes a nice little. Hopefully, it's not too much. Too much over there starts dripping on the side, and you don't want that. So do it again. Stir it around. That's way too much. We want to not have quite so much. There we go. That's a little better. We want to push it in, and it will want to pop out a little bit. There. It has a nice little bead on it. We're going to drop this guy right on it. It's going to go like that. Nice. Okay. And we're going to let that cure. We're not going to do a thing to it. Okay, next one. Wow. Well, guess what, folks? This has to go in fast, or we're going to have problems. Get that off of there. All right. We're going to have to go to Plan B. That thing's set up really fast. A lot faster than I thought it would. Plan B, take this shit off now. Get as much as you can off of it. We'll try again another day. That one's toast. Cannot use it anymore. Okay. We were one element away. Look at that. Boy, that thing heats up. Okay, folks. Well, that's not bad. And we didn't fuck it up too bad. We just have to do it again. So, we're going to get ourselves one more little thing here. Here's what this tells me. When I start doing the rest of these, so I learned something from that little mistake. When I'm going to do the rest of these, I'm going to do it in 2 sections. We'll do one, then we'll do the other. That way, we won't run out of goop. Let me make sure I have another one of these. Okay. Actually, here's what we could do. Here's an idea. Let's see how good this is already. We're going to do a little test. Yeah, that's pretty. Uh-oh. No, not quite. I really don't want to mess around with this while it's still wet. So let's go ahead and mix this up. We got about halfway through. We'll do a little less this time because I didn't need as much. One, two, three, four, 6. Okay, we'll mix it up. Okay. Those fit a little bit tighter, so I'm going to have to remember to pound them in if I need to. That should work pretty well. Now we're just wait for that to set, and I'll come back later, and we'll get ready to finish her up. Okay, we're back. At least I hope we're back. Let's just make sure. Yep, we're back. Okay. Let's go ahead. This is sufficiently set up now, so we can get going. Now what I'm going to do here, oh, almost forgot. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to put I'm going to make a batch, and hopefully that batch will be enough to do it all in one swoop. I'll try to work quickly. However, just in case we have the unthinkable that the thing hardens up before I can finish, I'm going to keep a little bit in reserve so we can definitely finish up. I think I can make that work. So here we go. Let's go ahead and get this started. Get most of it in there. Looks probably pretty good. Okay. Put the cap back on in case we need to do it again. Then we mix her up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Mixed up good. Okay. That's probably good enough. By the time I get back, we'll be ready. Okay. Gotta have my hammer ready. There, the hammer will be ready over here. Put the epoxy back over here. Start with number one. Number one. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit more on here because it just is going to need it. And stick it in there fast. Here we go. Pound it in. Good enough. All right, that worked out. 1, 3. See, it's gooping, but as long as you stick it in there relatively fast, the epoxy itself is what's called that one went back a little bit. Well, hopefully you won't notice it too badly. Alright, that was a mistake. Now I can have to do it with other hands. It's okay, I can do it that way. You don't really want it to goop down too much. I didn't want it to drip either, but I'm going to have a couple of drips. Okay, well, there it is. It's in. I am going to have a drip on at least one of these things. I don't think you're going to notice it too much. It's not too bad. It's really not too bad either. You'd have to really look hard. Well, see how fast that was? That's all you need to do. Just real fast. Get it done. And the reason why it went fast and well is because I did the pre-fitting. That is absolutely essential. You have to do your test fittings before you use the epoxy. Because if you don't, then as you can see, it would be a terrible mess trying to fix that up. Now it's in there. It looks pretty good. I do want to see if I could dab off one of the runs there. It does look a little unsightly, and I'm afraid that's going to be the case forever on this one. But such as it is, it'll probably be okay. Yeah, I don't know. Well, so much for that. I was careful with the other shit. I'm careful with that. Anyway, let's take a look. I don't think you'll notice after a while. So, there it is. That looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. Let's take a look and see how it's coming in from the side. The shadows are definitely interesting on it. This type of day looks a little... the sun directly on it definitely gives it some standoff. But it looks pretty good. I like it a lot. I have a house now with a number. That looks really great. So here we are one day later, and as you can see, we definitely have some drips over here which are going to have to be covered up. So I'm going to have to tell you what I'm going to do. Basically what I'm going to do here is I have some nice paint. If you notice over here, I have this paint which I use to paint my cover over here. And that's a very, very good match with this. So I'll just take a very small brush and put that in here. I will say it's probably very difficult to keep epoxy from dripping in these cases. If I was doing it on wood or something, I would take some tape and put it around the hole and just make sure that I could take the tape off. That would protect the wood surface from epoxy. A little bit difficult to do it on stucco because stucco is rough. Tape would definitely not work. This wouldn't have helped. You could put a little less in there, but again, unless you want to keep it, I would be worried a little bit about not having enough, because you definitely need to put some epoxy, especially in a substrate such as this, because there are a lot of gaps, and the epoxy that goes in will be absorbed by those gaps. Having said that, it still looks pretty nice. I'm very happy. I hope you enjoyed it, and visit my blog at www.diydevo.com, and hope to see you again sometime.